Welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. A lot of energy. I love this, right? Fired up after that great lunch at the View, right? Ooh. Well, I want to welcome you to Academic Expectations Session. Now, I recognize that you have been welcomed since the beginning of this morning, say 8:30, right? And when you go to your next afternoon session, you will be welcomed again. And I know that you will have a tendency throughout the course of the day to think, just maybe they're not being sincere. After all, how many times can they really welcome us, right? But I want you to be mindful of this, is that we are extremely happy that you're here with us, not only today, orientation day, but that you and your family have made an enormous investment to attend St. Thomas. Not just the obvious financial investment, but an investment in terms of trust. That we will nurture you as you develop into global leaders. We're starting today to earn your trust. But we will spend the next 4 years to develop and sustain that trust. We don't want you to ever regret your decision to attend St. Thomas. Because right now, we want you to know you are a Tommy. You're part of the Tommy family. And we have a golden rule for Tommies. Nick and Holly were thinking of changing it to the purple rule, right? But it's simple. Is that as Tommies, we take care of one another. We look out for one another. So that means whatever you need, you can ask another Tommy. Those Tommies include professors, advisors, student leaders, and yes, that wonderful alum network of Tommies. But we ask that you do one thing. Part of being a Tommy is that you have to express the needs that you have so we can help you. And then you have to give back to future Tommies. And that's how we continue the compact, the contract, the bond of our family. So you happy to be a Tommy? Yeah. All right. During the course of our discussion today, we're going to talk about some classroom norms and skill sets that will help you make the transition from high school to college. Now, I want you to take a look at this old syllabus. And I know you might be thinking, well, Buff, we have had syllabi in high school. This is not something new to us. But I want you to remember that some of the things we will talk about today, which you might think you're familiar with in terms of high school, we want you to look at things a little differently now as you enter your college experience. So, of course, for the syllabi, you would think of this as a faculty and student contract. We, of course, will talk about our expectations, right? We'll talk about what's required for the course. We will list when exams are given, when papers are due. But the mistake that most students make is that they receive their syllabus, either a hard copy or the one on Blackboard, and they never look at it. They never intensively read the syllabus. Because they're used to, from high school, of having teachers give them prompts or reminders. They'll start on Monday, the exam is on Friday, and they'll remind you all the way until Friday. Or they're used to not turning in the final version of a paper because they're expected to do multiple rough drafts of that paper. Some professors do not do rough drafts. They only want the final version. Many of your professors will not give you reminders of when your paper or when the exam is due. So my advice to you is to please, your first assignment, record those dates in your academic planner or in your iPhone. Now, throughout our discussion, I'm going to give you some tips, some strategies. But once again, I'm old school, I'm old, right? This is my smartphone. What's your name, sir?
Ethan.
Touch it, Ethan. Touch screen right there. It doesn't light up, does it? Ugh, hate when that happens. You have to push this. Old school, right? But that's okay, because we have prominent student leaders. They're going to give you the real deal. It's like, Buff, she's old. What does she know? She doesn't even have a smartphone. But Nick and Holly, they will not lead you astray, right? So Holly, Nick, I think reading the syllabus is important, but keep it real for the young scholars. What advice would you give them?
Well, I would say a lot of people are taking 3 to 4 classes, so when you get the syllabus, really look over it and kind of look at all of them collectively and what are the times where there's maybe some projects or papers or tests that are overlapping or really close together, and to be able to plan ahead and look and know, like, okay, these are the same day, this I should start sooner so I can finish that up and then start working on this, or whatever it may be. So planning ahead and knowing that things are going to overlap and how you're going to deal with that.
Perfect. Thank you, Holly. Nick, sir.
All right, I'll be honest with you. It's a little bit embarrassing, but my first couple of assignments, I actually forgot to turn them in. I completely missed them because I didn't read the syllabus. I was so used to teachers in high school constantly reminding that things were due, I didn't even think to check it. And while I did work myself out of that hole I just dug for myself, it did take a lot of work. So it's best to start off on the right foot, get that respect to your professors, and don't mess up from the beginning by not reading the syllabus. Learn from my mistake.
Thank you for sharing, Nick. Thank you, Holly. So we can't just talk about the syllabus the entire, say, 50 minutes, right? No, can't do that, right? That would bore you. Is that correct? What's your name, sir?
Johnny.
Johnny, that would bore you. Is that correct?
That would bore me.
Okay. So the question that I want us to think about during the session is, do you want to survive St. Thomas and learn the skills that are necessary to survive at St. Thomas? So by the show of hands, how many of you would say, I'm here today because I want to survive at St. Thomas? Show of hands. Everyone? No one? Okay. Help me to understand this. Ma'am, was your hand up?
I want to survive. I want to live up St. Thomas. I want to excel.
You want to
I'm here
excel?
to learn.
I'm here to learn. I don't want to survive. Ma'am, what's your name?
Leah.
Leah?
Yeah.
Super Tommy here. Leah, very good. So Leah says, no, I don't want to just survive. I want to excel. I want to learn. Okay, how about this, Leah? How many people want to thrive at St. Thomas? Will you raise your, okay, Leah will raise her hand. Now everyone else raise your hand. Okay, now I'm confused. Take one more vote. You can only vote for one time. You can only vote one time. You are here today because you want to survive at St. Thomas. Raise your hand. Leah, what the influence you have on your family. You are here today because you want to thrive at St. Thomas. Raise your hand. Wow. Okay, now help the old lady out. Remember, I'm old. I need examples. I have to understand the distinction between surviving college and thriving in college, because apparently Leah messed up the vote when she said thriving, okay? So help me to understand what's the distinction between surviving college and thriving in college. Examples. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think that surviving would just be doing the bare minimum, not really getting out there and trying new things. And I think that thriving would be, taking some risks and working your hardest.
Very good. What's your name, ma'am?
Ava?
Ava? Very good, Ava. Very good. Would you agree with Ava? Pretty good. Have you ever heard this phrase, C's get degrees? Show of hands. Anyone? What does that mean? You can get by with the bare minimum. Can you graduate from St. Thomas with a C degree? Like a cumulative GPA of a 2.0? Yes? How many would say yes? Show of hands. How many would say no? It's the St. Thomas. You can. You're right. Is that surviving or is that thriving? Surviving. Will that get you access to that vast St. Thomas alum network? No. Think about this. You'll get the brand, and you think, I just get that brand? That's all I need. St. Thomas as a diploma, that's all I need. But if you really want to work that degree, you need to make sure you're working in your classrooms now, like Leah, in terms of thriving, to make that degree valuable. So the reason why we're talking about thriving in college today is for two reasons. One, we believe that if you learn the skill sets that are necessary to thrive in college today, it will actually help you thrive in your respective career. According to career development specialists, at least 75% of individuals who currently are employed indicate that they got that job because of their social network. 75%. What does that mean? Yes, ma'am.
They got their job because they knew people that could get them there.
Absolutely. What's your name, ma'am?
Lauren.
Lauren. Perfect. Now, don't misunderstand me. You still have to be competent, master your major. That knowledge is important. But you also simultaneously need to build strong social professional networks. And when you're thinking of building your social network, think about your performance in the classroom. If you're going to ask the professor to write a letter of recommendation for you, God bless you, sir. Do you need some water? No, good. Okay. You need to make sure you excel in that classroom. Because why would that professor put his or her reputation online for you if you have not done exceptional work in the classroom? If you do exceptional work in the classroom, then he or she can with confidence write an extremely strong letter to state they performed with exceptional work in the classroom. I believe they will be an exceptional employee in your company or for law school, med school, right? So that's why learning these skills will not only help you thrive in college, but help you thrive in your respective career. But the second reason why we strongly encourage students to develop these skill sets is because we know, as well as you know, that attending a 4-year private university is a privilege. It's an absolute privilege. And when you graduate, you will be a part of an elite educated class. I know some of you might think, I really don't feel like I'm a part of this elite educated class. But in reality, when you look at the census data, it indicates that just a little above 30% of the US population has a BA or above degree. So you will have membership in this elite class. And with all forms of privilege comes what? Responsibility. The global problems that we face today are complex. And as emerging global leaders, you will need to master a breadth of knowledge from multiple disciplines and majors. That's why we emphasize the core curriculum. Because the core curriculum will give you the foundation that you need to solve these global complex problems. So yes, we want you to thrive here at St. Thomas. And of course, we want you to thrive in your respective career to help you and your family. But as a global leader, you have a responsibility to give back in terms of your talents, your gifts, your resources, your education to help this great state, Minnesota, this great nation, the U.S., but most importantly, as a global leader, you have to be responsible for the global community. It is your rightful place to take on leadership roles, but the responsibility that comes with that is to make sure you resolve global issues. So that's why we want you to thrive here at St. Thomas. So you can be an effective leader in your field, but most importantly, so you can be a global leader. So the skill sets, we'll go over these. The first skill set is time management. Heard that before, right? Think about this. When you come back in September, you will have more freedom than you've probably had in your relatively short life. Remember, I'm 42, so to me, relatively young, real young. So you have freedom, and you'll have flexibility in time. You have youth on your side, freedom and flexibility. It's a beautiful combination, right? But with that privilege comes responsibility. And your first task is, how do you manage your time? Because great leaders have to manage time effectively. How do you manage your academic life with your social life, with your work commitments? Now, we understand that many of you have to work, but we ask that you please do not work more than 20 hours a week. Because the research indicates that if you work more than 20 hours a week, it will have an adverse effect on your academic performance. You can't expect to thrive at St. Thomas if you're working more than 20 hours a week. Now, of course, we will always argue that your academics should be one of your top priorities. But please don't misunderstand us. We don't expect you to be in the library 24/7. We don't want you to have an academic nervous breakdown or burnout. We want and expect you to have a healthy social life on campus and building connections in your community. We want that. Teachers, we want you to, yes, party, have a good time. Responsibly, that is, though, of course, right? We just don't expect you to maybe party Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and maybe take a break on Sunday, right? Balance. But you can have a healthy academic life, a healthy social life, so that's important, and also provide back to the community and have a work life. Second skill set, study skills, good study skills. Now, as a teacher here at St. Thomas, we would encourage you to spend between 6 to 8 hours per class each week. Now, when you register for classes, you will find that typically St. Thomas students register for 4 classes each semester, right? So, of course, you're all smart, so you do the math. That's a full-time job, right? How many of you think 6 to 8 hours of studying per class is a lot? It's like a lot, Buff. That's a lot of hours. It's a lot. And think about this. Many of you did not spend 6 to 8 hours per class during high school, and you did well. I will not take that away from you. You excelled. And that is the reason why you're here. But I'm asking you, just like leaders have to be flexible and open to new ideas, you might have to be open to the idea that you have to modify, refine, tweak your study habits. Because the hours that you used to spend in high school that gave you relatively good rewards might not be enough to help you thrive here in college. It will be good enough to survive, but you told me you want to thrive. You will have to write more papers. You'll read more, 50 to 100 pages per class each week. So it will require you to modify your study habits. And you will have to spend more hours of studying if you want to thrive. So be open to that. So at this point, I can look around and I see young scholars looking at like that sort of adults in Snoopy where they just begin to have that voiceover, wong, 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 wong. I got you. And this is how Holly and Nick, they rescue me. They're like, Buff, stop talking, we'll help you. So Holly, Nick, in terms of advice and tips for the young scholars, good time management and good study skills.
I think for study skills, you really have to find out that how you studied in high school may not work for you in college because classes are way different. And so you really have to figure out for you individually what's going to work the best for you to learn the material. Whether that be like rereading whatever the assignment was or taking a lot of notes on things or whatever it is, figure out what works for you. And then also part of that is even where you're doing your studying, whether that be the library, the student center, outside, in your dorm room. Where are you gonna get the most done and succeed and really be able to focus and sit down and get all the information down?
Perfect. Thank you, Holly. Yes, sir.
All right, so for time management, it's kind of a big and scary idea, right? I mean, you hear a lot about how important it is in college, and it's true, it is really important. But it's not as hard as it seems. You'll be really surprised, actually, at how much time you'll find to do things you like to do and still get all of your commitments done, still spend the time studying and all that. But that being said, there's not time for everything. So you're gonna have to prioritize and maybe put off some of the things that you wanna do because you've gotta get done with your studying, gotta get done with your classwork. You gotta remember why you're here above all else.
Perfect. Thank you. Number 3, be proactive about your own education. Be proactive about your own education. By a show of hands, how many of you had great relationships with your high school teachers? Yes. That's why you're here. That's good. That's good. Now, think about this. Your professors here, we want to have that same type of rapport with you that your high school teachers had. But I'm going to be honest with you. You will have to work a little harder to make those relationships happen. I'm encouraging you to please go to office hours. Now, don't think of going to professors' office hours as something punitive. Like if I don't do well on the exam, then I'll go see the teacher. If I don't do well on the paper, then I'll go see the teacher. I'm asking you to rethink office hours in terms of you're trying to build a rapport, a relationship with that professor. You want them to be part of your team in terms of your professional network. That's why you go to office hours. You want to see the professor before there's a crisis. So before that first exam, before that first paper is due, make sure you've spent some time building a relationship with all your professors. When you're in the classroom, you can also signal to the professor your level of engagement, your level of openness in terms of, I want to be a part of this thriving learning community, and I want to build a meaningful relationship with you. Now, I'm going to reveal something. We're family now, right? Right? Okay. My family has abandoned me. We're family now. So I'm going to tell you this. It might make my colleagues a little upset, but I'm going to reveal some secrets. You will find that some of your professors here, including me, I'm in this camp, give boring lectures. That's a big reveal. I pour my heart out. You don't feel my pain? A little bit? Okay. So you expect us to give boring lectures. What's your name, sir? Will. Will? Good, I understand. But we do. So that means you have to be even more proactive in terms of staying engaged in classroom. So if you have to pinch yourself sometimes, Will, right? Or if you have to maybe stomp your feet, get the blood circulating. And these are the tips I'm sharing with you because this is what I do and I teach the class, right? Because I'm like, stay with it, Buffy. The next chart is about, no. But you want to do that because that will show engagement. Let me give you an example. Adam, sir, what's your name?
Sam.
Sam, what's your name?
Judd.
Say it one more time.
Judd.
Judd. Okay, I'm giving a typical boring lecture, right? Because that's what I do, Adam, okay? But now as teachers, we like to test students to see if they're engaged, even when the lecture is boring, right? So I pose a question to Adam. This is my check. And Adam gives me this wonderful response. I'm like, wow, Adam, I'm impressed with that. You are engaged. Thank you, sir. Jake, Sam, you're next to Judd. Judd has his laptop, right? Now, as a professor, I personally don't care if my students use a laptop because I'm thinking they're using it for note-taking practices, right? Some professors do not want students to have laptops in the classroom. You want to check the syllabus. It will be stated on the syllabus. This is why you want to read that carefully. So the fact that Judd has his laptop out is not a problem for me. It's not against my classroom policy. But what I noticed is that Judd, can you give us a smile? Look at that. Wow. You're going to take great IDs today. You're going to do well. That's good. Beautiful smile. Beautiful smile. But I'm thinking, like, Adam, it's a boring lecture, right? And at this point that Judd is giving us that beautiful smile, I'm actually talking about infant mortality rates. So I'm a little confused, right? So I'm thinking either Judd is really insensitive, right? I don't think you are, but I'm thinking he's really insensitive or what? He's not paying attention, he's on Facebook. He's doing something, right? But now I want to catch Judd in the act, right? That's my goal. So I have to do my professor little swagger move, right? I can't just like go over there. So I'll talk to Adam a little bit, then I'll move so smoothly towards Sam, and I'll say, you know, Sam, if you look at the racial disparities we're really concerned with in terms of lack of access to certain racial groups, blah, blah, blah. Boom, I'm here. I see Judd's laptop. What do you think I find? Think I find Facebook?
Something.
Find something? Like what?
No.
Judd, what would I find?
Watching a sports event.
Watching, maybe that's what you were doing before when I was talking. But when I get to
Oh,
you,
you find I'm on the notes.
now you're on notes, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I saw you coming.
Exactly. No matter how smooth I think I am, I'm not quicker than Judd or any of you, right? Look at me. I'm old. I'm out of shape. I can't keep running back. I'm like, whoa, what is that, Judd? I can't do that. Right? So the only thing I can do is I'll just make a mental note. Maybe I'll never say anything to Judd. And he thinks, I got away with that. But I've made a mental note, and I said, maybe Judd just doesn't want to thrive in my class. He's comfortable with just surviving. So I want you to remember that your goal is not to think of how much you can get away with in the classroom. You're smart. You're faster. You can get away with a lot of things over on us professors. But that's survival mentality. Thriving mentality says, what can I do to make sure I get the most out of this classroom experience? That I build a quality relationship with this professor. That's being proactive about your education. Thanks for playing, Jeff. Skill set number 4. Seek out academic support services. What's your name, ma'am?
Rachel.
Rachel? When you look around St. Thomas campus, would you consider it a affluent campus?
Yeah.
Very affluent. So that means that whatever service you need, St. Thomas has it. So if you want to work on your time management skills, study skills, we have an academic support services. If you want to improve your writing, we have the Center for Writing. You have a math phobia, but you know you still have to take math classes, we have a math resource center. Having problems with family, friends, and roommates, we have personal counseling services. Whatever you need, St. Thomas has it. It's part of the St. Thomas sort of benefit package. We want you to utilize it. The one thing we don't want you to do is to suffer in silence. Please do not suffer in silence. Don't be in need of something and not ask a fellow Tommy. Remember, we take care of one another. But the only way we can take care of you if you let us know what you need. Okay, enough of me, wong, wong, wong. Nick, advice on being proactive and seeking academic support services, along with Holly.
All right, so I'll talk about academic support services. It's no secret that college classes are a lot harder than high school classes. There's going to be some times when, even if you were a great student in high school, you're going to fall down, right? You're going to get bad grades, something like that, or maybe not up to the expectations that you had. It's going to happen to everybody at some point. So be ready for when that happens and, work with it. Try to prevent it ahead of time. There's tutors and support services for every subject here on campus, as well as professors willing to help out. So if you really want to do well, you can ask around once you get to class. The students who do the best, get the best grades, get the most out of the class, are the ones who take advantage of the resources. Use them to your advantage.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
And to be proactive about your education. As Buffy said, going to office hours before anything even happens, just to go and ask a couple questions about an assignment, some clarification, whatever it may be, and to hear firsthand from that professor exactly what they're looking for and how it should be done exactly. And that'll carry over into all your assignments. And you'll just start off doing super well, and you won't have to backtrack and try and make up for it, to just start off on a good note like that. And as you build that relationship, it'll make your experience in the classroom so much more fun too.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. Do you have any questions so far? All right. The fifth skill set is build mentoring relationships with your faculty advisor. Each of you will be assigned a faculty advisor. This advisor will be your advisor until you officially declare your major at St. Thomas. The mistake that many students make is that they only see this advisor for selecting their courses, like remove my hold so I can select my courses for the following semester. That's a misuse of your time, a misuse of their knowledge and time. You want to build mentoring relationships with your faculty advisor. The reason why we stress mentoring relationships so much here at St. Thomas is related to thriving in your future career. If you feel more comfortable talking with professors and building a mentoring relationship with them, you'll feel more comfortable talking with your future supervisor and building a mentoring relationship with him or her. We want you to think of St. Thomas as your practice learning environment. You can make mistakes here and not be severely punished. But when you get into the workforce, your mistakes will cost you more. So please take chances, take risks. These are times to build lessons. Mentoring is important in terms of thriving in life. No one moves from the entry-level position to the top position of their field without having mentors to encourage them, support them along the way. All great leaders have mentors. By a show of hands, how many of you either watched the movie Hunger Games or read the book? You actually read the book. Awesome. How many of you actually read the book? You just read the book. Wow, look at this. Top scholars. Woohoo. How many of you just watched the movie? It's like, watch the movie. Yes. What's your name, ma'am?
Maddie.
Maddie. This is how I feel, Maddie. That if it's really a good book, eventually it becomes what? A movie. And then once it becomes a movie, then I might consider reading the book. See? I'm just kidding, Maddie. See, Nick and Holly, they're pro educators. They're like, Buff, why do you say that? No, I endorse reading as well. No, so you can answer this question, whether you read the book or if you just watched it, the film. Who was, oh man, I gave it away. I was gonna say, who was Katniss and Peeta's mentor?
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch. All right, good, thanks. In terms of, hey, Mitch, was he a pretty good mentor? No?
In his
Yeah, what?
I said after he stops drinking, he becomes.
Oh.
I just watched it like yesterday.
Oh. Yes, please, ma'am. Help Hey Mitch out.
Well, you know how we were talking about like reading the book and the movie and how it's like you would know the same thing? I didn't know that his name was Peta. I thought his name was Peter. And they were pronouncing it in an English accent until I like saw it on paper. His name's Peta. It's not Peter in an English accent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you don't always get the same thing from the movie as you do from the book.
I.
Does that make sense?
It does.
I feel really
And
stupid.
no. This supports, Holly and Nick's, position in terms of why reading is so important. So we're good. That's good. That's true. Now, but you said Hey Mitch had a drinking issue. Drinking problem? Did Hey Mitch have a drinking problem?
Yeah.
Okay. He had some issues, right? But when he was able to put the bottle down, was he pretty effective in terms of mentoring? Right. So keep that in mind. Now, some of your professors will have issues. I guarantee we're not alcoholics, so that's not one of our issues, okay? But you might find, as cool scholars, because you are, that we engage in some quirky behavior. It just makes us really uncool. You don't want to be with. But I'm going to ask you to please don't let that hinder you from building a mentoring relationship with your faculty members. Because they still can be valuable to you in terms of helping you with research opportunities and internships and writing those strong letters of recommendation for your future career. So faculty mentoring is important, but the sixth skill set is developing peer mentoring relationships. You want to make sure you surround yourself with people who have your best academic and career goals at heart. You'll always have friends that you can go out with, and that's good, and you need them. But you also need friends that you can study with. And when you're thinking of peer mentors, please, throughout the summer, make sure you maintain contact with Nick. Make sure you maintain contact with Holly. So when you come back to campus in September, you know 2 prominent student leaders on campus already that will help you. And never forget about your new family that you're forming now. This is your family now. So maintain contact with one another over summer so you can help and support one another during these 4 years. Faculty mentoring is important. Peer mentoring is important. What advice would you give them? Holly, then Nick.
For peer mentoring, I think look at it as kind of similar to study skills. You have those friends that you'll hang out with and when you're really tight with, but they're not the best when you actually want to get work done. And so being able to differentiate and know these people, when we go to the library, we're actually going to sit down, get homework done, get some reading done, study, and be able to even check in on each other, how far are you, how are you doing, to have that kind of relationship. So just kind of knowing who you can get stuff done with is a huge asset.
Perfect. Thank you, Holly. Nick.
I can talk a little bit about faculty mentoring. So these professors, even though it might not seem like it right away, or you might not really think it, these are some of the smartest people you will ever meet in your entire life. They're experts in their field, as well as just expert human beings. They've gone through a lot to get to where they are now, and they're gold mines of information, whether it relates to specific courses and classes, subject material, personal advice, career advice. They can give you a lot of information and help you out in a lot of ways. So don't squander the opportunity to build a friendship with them. I mean, you can get a lot out of it. I know personally I have, and I hope you all do too.
Thank you, sir. Questions about the 6 skill sets? Ready for your first pop college quiz? Yes. Getting ready to thrive, right? All right. What if I say it's a group quiz? How's that? Better? Just for orientation. I usually don't do this for my classes. All right. The 6 skill sets, what are they? Time management. Study skills. Ooh. Be proactive about your education. I like that. Peer mentoring and faculty mentoring. And what's that last one? I heard someone say seek.
Is seeking like counseling.
Yes, seeking out academic support services. Excellent. Group A, that's what you get, an A. All right, so we're gonna keep this energy going. We're gonna do a little role-playing exercises because you're not only scholars, but you're actors. I feel you're actors. So we're gonna do a little role-playing